At 57, Keith Urban is finally breaking his silence about one of the most talked about divorces in Hollywood history. After years of speculation, rumors, and endless media scrutiny, Keith has admitted the real reason behind his split from Nicole Kidman. The truth, he says, is more complex and far more heartbreaking than anyone could have imagined. For years, the public had only heard whispers about the end of their marriage. It was a relationship that had captured the attention of millions, admired for its glamour and seemingly perfect love story. But like many things in the world of fame, there was a darkness behind closed doors. Yeah, some real heavy stuff. Keith Urban, a country music icon, had kept his personal life closely guarded. That is until now. In this exclusive interview, Keith opens up about the real struggles that led to his separation from the Academy Award-winning actress. He reveals how personal demons, emotional baggage, and the weight of their individual careers played a huge role in their eventual breakup. But there's more to the story. Something that will challenge everything you thought you knew about their relationship. Keith admits that while he and Nicole had incredible love for each other, the pressures of Hollywood and the struggles within their marriage became too overwhelming. There were moments when it seemed like their bond was unbreakable. But as time went on, the cracks began to show. The story of their split is one of emotional turmoil, growth, and ultimately realization. As Keith reflects on his past, he shares how his own personal issues, including struggles with addiction and self-worth, added to the tension. He opens up about the guilt he felt over not being able to provide Nicole the stability she needed, and how the weight of their public lives became more than he could handle. But his honesty is also a part of his healing. His way of finding peace in the aftermath of a marriage that was once full of love. The truth Keith shares isn't just about the end of a marriage, but about the journey of self-discovery. The toll fame can take on personal lives and the ultimate cost of living in the spotlight. This confession is raw, honest, and filled with emotion. It's a side of Keith Urban that his fans have never seen before. As Keith Urban delves deeper into the emotional journey that led to the end of his marriage with Nicole Kidman, he reveals the true weight of the pressures that both of them faced. While their relationship appeared perfect to the outside world, it was anything but behind closed doors. The public's fascination with their love story only intensified the difficulties they were both dealing with privately. Keith talks candidly about the toll fame took on his personal life. He explains how the constant attention from the media, the paparazzi, and the public made it nearly impossible for him and Nicole to live a normal life. The emotional strain of always being in the spotlight, combined with their already demanding careers, left little room for their relationship to thrive. But it wasn't just the media that caused tension, it was also the growing distance between them. Keith admits that as they both became more immersed in their individual projects, their emotional connection started to fray. The constant travel, the different time zones, and the stress of juggling two high-profile careers started to take a toll on their marriage. Despite their best efforts to work through their issues, Keith acknowledges that the bond they once shared was fading. He reflects on how at the time, he was unable to see the cracks that were slowly breaking apart their relationship. He was focused on trying to maintain his career, fighting his own personal demons, and being the best partner he could be. But sometimes that wasn't enough. Keith's confession also touches on the guilt he carried. As a man, he felt responsible for providing emotional security and stability for Nicole, but he couldn't even provide it for himself. He admits that his battle with addiction played a huge role in the strain on their marriage. At the height of his struggles, Keith couldn't give Nicole the kind of love and support she needed. And that realization hit him hard, like a punch to the gut. The pain of seeing someone you love suffer because of your own shortcomings is one of the most devastating feelings. And Keith speaks about the heartache of knowing that he couldn't protect Nicole from the impact of his battles. He shares that despite everything, their love never completely disappeared. But the dynamic of their relationship had shifted. They had reached a point where love alone could no longer overcome the overwhelming challenges they faced. As Keith reflects on this difficult chapter, he speaks with humility and regret, but he also speaks about the importance of growth. He shares that though the end of his marriage was one of the hardest moments of his life, it became a turning point for him. It was during this time that he realized the importance of healing not only for himself, but also for the people he cared about. Keith's journey of self-discovery and recovery became intertwined with the painful process of accepting the end of his marriage. But the story doesn't end here. In the next part, Keith discusses how the aftermath of the divorce changed him in profound ways, and how it ultimately led to a new chapter in his life, one of redemption, self-love, and finding peace in the lessons learned. The truth he shares continues to reveal a side of him that his fans have never seen before. Stay tuned for the next chapter in Keith Urban's deeply personal story. In this next chapter of Keith Urban's story, he opens up about the healing process that began after the end of his marriage to Nicole Kidman. After years of living in the chaos of public scrutiny and personal turmoil, Keith shares how he finally found the space to heal both emotionally and spiritually. This part of his journey is one of transformation as he moves from guilt and regret to self-acceptance and understanding. Keith reflects on how the divorce became a catalyst for his own personal growth. In the aftermath of the split, he admits that he felt lost, like he was trying to find his identity outside of the relationship and the public persona that had defined him for so long. The man who once struggled with addiction, self-doubt, and the overwhelming pressure of fame now had to face himself in ways he never had before. For the first time in years, Keith had the chance to truly reconnect with himself. It was during this period of solitude that Keith found the courage to seek help. He sought therapy and leaned on close friends and family for support. For years, he had hidden his pain behind his music and his public image. But now, he was ready to confront the issues that had been plaguing him for so long. Keith admits that it wasn't an easy road, but it was one that was necessary for his growth. In addition to therapy, Keith also found solace in his music. He began to channel his emotions into his songs. Using the pain from his divorce as fuel for his creativity, the music became his therapy, a way for him to process the feelings that he had kept locked away for so long. It was through this creative outlet that Keith started to rebuild himself, not just as an artist, but as a person. He talks about how over time the weight of guilt and shame began to lift. He realized that his past mistakes didn't define him, and that his journey of healing was an ongoing process. With each step forward, Keith learned to forgive himself for the hurt he caused, and began to see himself in a new light. He no longer saw himself as a failure, but as someone who was learning from his experiences. Keith also reflects on how the end of his marriage with Nicole, although painful, allowed him to rediscover the love he had for music, his fans, and the people who truly mattered in his life. He shares how he started to focus on his career again, but this time with a new sense of purpose. It was no longer just about fame or success. It was about authenticity, about living a life that was true to who he really was. As he slowly emerged from the darkness, Keith began to open up more about his struggles with addiction and how his journey of sobriety was intertwined with his emotional healing. He acknowledges that it wasn't just his relationship with Nicole that had suffered, but also his relationship with himself. Over time, he rebuilt his foundation piece by piece, learning to love himself and embrace the lessons that life had thrown his way. Keith's story is a testament to the power of resilience and self-reflection. He talks about how in the years since his divorce, he's learned to appreciate the beauty in imperfection and the importance of growth. His journey, though filled with heartbreak and challenges, has led him to a place of peace. In this part of his life, Keith has found new strength, a renewed sense of self, and an unwavering commitment to his sobriety and personal happiness. But even as he moved forward, Keith couldn't escape the memories of what once was. He reflects on the love he and Nicole shared, acknowledging that their bond was real and special, even though it didn't last. While they both moved on, Keith admits that he will always have love and respect for her, and that he will forever be grateful for the time they spent together. In the next part, Keith shares the pivotal moments that led him to rediscover his relationship with Nicole, not as a romantic partner, but as someone who would forever be a part of his journey. The final chapter of Keith Urban's story is one of acceptance, redemption, and the lessons that have shaped him into the man he is today. Stay tuned as Keith's journey continues to unfold. As Keith Urban continues to reflect on his journey of healing and self-discovery, he turns his focus to the lessons he's learned from his past, particularly the impact his relationship with Nicole Kidman had on his life. While the pain of their divorce lingered for some time, Keith has come to accept that the end of their marriage, though heart-wrenching, was not the end of his personal growth. It was simply a new beginning. Keith speaks candidly about the difficult, yet transformative process of redefining his relationship with Nicole. Although their marriage had ended, the bond they shared was not something that could be erased. Over time, he began to realize that the love they had was still a part of him, a part that would always remain. But the realization didn't come easily. There were moments when the scars of their past resurfaced, reminding him of the heartbreak. But Keith learned to embrace the memories without letting them control him. In this part of his journey, Keith speaks about how he reached out to Nicole again, not to rekindle their romance, but to find closure. He admits that for years he had avoided confronting the emotional weight of their split. But in facing the truth of their past, he found peace. Their conversations weren't about blame or regret. Instead, they were about healing, forgiveness, and mutual respect. Keith acknowledges that their relationship, although it didn't last in the way they had hoped, had a profound impact on both of their lives. Through this reconciliation, Keith found a new sense of maturity and emotional strength. He had learned to let go of the past, not as a way of forgetting, but as a way of freeing himself from the bitterness and resentment that had once held him captive. It was in this process that Keith truly understood the importance of forgiveness, not just for the people who have wronged you, but for yourself. Keith's journey wasn't just about moving on from his marriage to Nicole. It was about rediscovering the love he had for himself, for his family, and for his music. As he worked through the pain, he began to realize that his career and personal life were no longer separate entities. They were intertwined, each influencing the other in ways he hadn't fully understood before. His music became more than just a career. It became his therapy, his outlet for expression, and his way of processing the emotions he had buried for so long. In the years following his divorce, Keith found a renewed sense of purpose in both his music and his personal life. He worked tirelessly on new projects, dedicating himself to his art with a passion and focus that was unmatched. But he also made a conscious effort to stay grounded in his relationships with his family, his friends, and even with Nicole. Keith learned to prioritize the people who truly mattered to him, ensuring that his emotional well-being came first. Keith admits that the road to healing wasn't easy, but he believes it was worth it. He reflects on the lessons that pain, heartbreak, and recovery taught him, lessons that continue to shape his approach to life today. He's learned to live in the present, to appreciate the small moments, and to never take the love and support of those around him for granted. Looking back, Keith now sees his divorce from Nicole not as a failure, but as a chapter in his life that helped him grow in ways he never thought possible. He knows that their paths may have diverged, but the love they once shared will always remain a part of his story. And while their relationship may not have had the fairy tale ending many expected, Keith believes that both he and Nicole are better for having gone through it. As the story unfolds, Keith's journey continues to inspire those who have faced their own struggles. His message is clear. Healing takes time, but it's possible. It's about facing the truth, letting go of the past, and learning to love yourself again. Keith's story is a reminder that no matter how dark the path may seem, there is always light at the end if you're willing to walk towards it. Stay tuned for the final chapter of Keith Urban's journey, where he reflects on his present-day life, his ongoing growth, and the man he has become through it all. As Keith Urban enters the final chapter of his deeply personal story, he reflects on the man he has become and how far he has come since his divorce from Nicole Kidman. After years of inner turmoil and struggles with addiction and the emotional weight of a public and private life that many could never fully understand, Keith is finally at peace with who he is. Keith admits that the journey to this point wasn't linear. There were highs and lows, moments of doubt, and times when he questioned whether he would ever truly find happiness again. But through it all, he has come to realize that happiness isn't a destination. It's a process. It's about learning to accept the imperfections of life and embracing the journey even when it doesn't go according to plan. One of the most significant aspects of Keith's journey has been the way he has learned to find balance in his life. While his career in music continues to be a major part of who he is, he has finally understood the importance of taking time for himself and for his loved ones. He has learned to slow down and actually appreciate the moments that matter most, the quiet, everyday moments that usually slip by unnoticed in the crazy hustle of life. Keith now speaks openly about the lessons he learned through his divorce and recovery. He acknowledges that the heartbreak he endured was one of the hardest experiences of his life, but it also forced him to confront his own vulnerabilities and shortcomings. He's learned that it's okay to not have all the answers, and that growth often comes from the most painful experiences. He reflects on how, through his own struggles, he was able to become a more empathetic person, someone who could better understand the struggles of others and be more present in his relationships. In the years following his recovery, Keith has found new stability in his personal life. He speaks fondly of his relationships with his family, his friends, and his current partner. His past experiences have made him more intentional about the way he spends his time and who he allows into his life. He recognizes that the people he surrounds himself with are not just companions. They are his support system, his family, and the ones who help him stay grounded. The transformation that Keith has gone through is not just evident in his personal life, but also in his music. He talks about how his songwriting has evolved over the years, where his earlier work focused on external success and image. His more recent music is deeply introspective, reflecting his journey of healing and self-acceptance. He describes how his songs have become a way for him to communicate the emotions and experiences that he once struggled to express. The music now serves as a channel for his growth, a way for Chaim to connect with his audience on a deeper, more authentic level. Keith also speaks about how he has found a sense of peace with his past, particularly with his relationship with Nicole. While their marriage didn't last, he recognizes that it was a defining part of his life, one that helped shape him into the person he is today. He's grateful for the love they shared and the lessons it taught him. But he also acknowledges that it was Team A for both of them to move on. He believes that their story was never about failure, but about growth, and that they both emerged from it as stronger individuals. Looking forward, Keith is more optimistic than ever. He has found peace with his past, embraced the lessons from his struggles, and learned to love himself for who he truly is. He is no longer defined by his mistakes or his heartbreak, but by his resilience and his capacity for growth. Keith Urban's story is one of redemption, self-reflection, and the power of healing. It's a testament to the human ability to rise from the ashes and rebuild even when it seems impossible. His journey is far from over, but he's in a place now where he can face whatever comes next with strength, peace, and a deep sense of gratitude. As this chapter of Keith's life closes, we are left with a powerful message that no matter how difficult the road, there is always a way forward. Healing is possible, and growth is inevitable if we are willing to do the hard work of facing our past and embracing the future. Keith's journey serves as an inspiration to anyone who is struggling, reminding us that even in our darkest moments, there is always hope. With this final part of his story, Keith Urban has shown us that it's not the end of the road that matters most. It's the courage we find to keep moving forward no matter what. In the final stages of his journey, Keith Urban stands not just as a successful musician, but as a man who has truly come to terms with the complexities of his past. With each day, he learns more about the importance of inner peace, and his growth both as an artist and as a person reflects the profound changes he has experienced. But while his story has been one of recovery, self-acceptance, and reconciliation, it is not over. As Keith continues to look toward the future, he reflects on how his past has shaped his current perspective on life. The lessons he's learned are clear to him now. Fame is fleeting. Relationships take work, and true happiness doesn't come from external accomplishments, but from internal peace. This understanding is what continues to guide him today. Keith admits that the pressures of fame were something he never fully understood until he had the chance to step back and focus on his personal well-being. His struggle with addiction, the emotional turmoil of his divorce, and the constant scrutiny of his personal life all led him to a place of burnout. But it was in these darkest times that he truly learned what it meant to be human. He was no longer defined by the music charts, his celebrity status, or the success that came with it. For the first time, Keith realized that his value wasn't tied to what the world thought of him, but to how he felt about himself and the life he was building. Keith's current mindset is one of gratitude, one that celebrates the small victories and everyday moments. He speaks about his love for the simpler things in life, the quiet moments with family, the deep conversations with friends, and the time he can dedicate to his music without the weight of perfectionism or outside expectations. Keith now views these moments as the real treasures of life, the kind of stuff he had often overlooked in the rush to meet expectations and chase fame. But his music remains central to his identity. While his early career was marked by the pursuit of stardom, Keith's more recent work focuses on authenticity, vulnerability, and the connections that music can create between people. He is no longer just an entertainer. He is a storyteller, someone who has used his own pain and joy to connect with others who may be going through their own struggles. Reflecting on his music now, Keith speaks with a newfound sense of purpose. His songs have become not just a reflection of his experiences, but also a way to inspire others. He has learned to appreciate the therapeutic nature of songwriting, and it has become a form of emotional release, a space where he can continue to process and heal. Each new track is a step forward in his own journey, a testament to the man he has become. One of the most powerful lessons Keith shares is the importance of not running from your past, but embracing it. He acknowledges that his past mistakes, the pain of his divorce, and the struggles with addiction are all part of what makes him who he is today. He no longer sees them as burdens, but as pivotal moments that shaped his strength, resilience, and understanding of the human experience. Keith believes that by embracing his flaws and his failures, he has been able to move forward in a way that feels true to himself. Looking forward, Keith is focused on the future, both in his career and personal life. He's committed to continuing his work on his mental and emotional health, ensuring that he never loses sight of the lessons he's learned. His story is far from over, and he recognizes that the journey of healing and growth is ongoing. But now Keith is living with a sense of purpose that he never had before. He knows that true happiness comes from within, and it's not about the highs and lows of fame, but about the small, quiet victories that make life meaningful. Keith's message to his fans is simple. Take the time to invest in yourself, heal from your past, and don't be afraid to confront your flaws. He's proof that it's never too late to change, to evolve, and to find peace. It's through this self-acceptance and continuous growth that he believes true happiness is found. The man Keith Urban is today is not the same man who once struggled with addiction, public scrutiny, and the heartbreak of a failed marriage. He has grown. He has healed. And now he stands stronger, wiser, and more at peace than ever before. And while he will continue to share his music with the world, the most important story he will ever tell is the one of his own transformation. In the final reflection of his journey, Keith Urban shows us that redemption is possible for anyone, no matter where they've been or what they've been through. It's a reminder that the road to healing may be long, but it is always worth it. The journey, after all, is just as important as the destination. As Keith Urban reaches the final stage of his personal narrative, the reflection is clear. He has emerged not only as a seasoned musician, but as a man who has found a sense of peace within himself. After years of public battles, personal struggles, and the emotional turmoil of divorce, Keith's journey is one of profound transformation. He stands today more connected to his truth than ever before. His music infused with the lessons of a life fully lived. Keith acknowledges that the road he's traveled has not been easy. It was fraught with pain, mistakes, and moments of doubt. But it was also marked by healing, growth, and ultimately forgiveness. The love he had for Nicole Kidman, while it may have come to an end, was never something that could be erased from his life. It's now a part of his past, woven into the fabric of his personal journey. He is grateful for that chapter and understands that it contributed to his own evolution. As Keith reflects on his present-day life, he speaks of the importance of emotional resilience and the constant practice of self-care. He emphasizes that healing is not a one-time event. It's an ongoing commitment to oneself. Even now, as a successful artist and a man with a family of his own, Keith remains focused on continuing his work of emotional growth. He believes that much like any craft, personal development requires dedication, patience, and a willingness to evolve. But it's not just about he himself. Keith has found purpose in sharing his story with others, hoping that his journey of recovery will resonate with those who are navigating their own struggles. He speaks candidly about the mental and emotional challenges he faced, acknowledging that there is no shame in seeking help. For Keith, sharing his truth is not only a form of self-expression, but a means to inspire those who may feel alone in their pain. His message is one of hope, that no matter how dark the road seems, there is always the possibility of redemption and healing. Looking ahead, Keith's focus remains on the people he loves most, his family, his friends, and his fans. He understands the value of these relationships in a way he never did before. They are his source of strength, and they are the ones who remind him of what truly matters. Through his experiences, Heath has learned to cherish these connections deeply. The love and support of his family are now his anchors, and he has found comfort in knowing that he is not alone. Heath's music continues to be an outlet for his creativity and his healing. Every note, every lyric carries a piece of his soul, a testament to the man he is today. His latest work is more personal than ever before, infused with the wisdom and emotional depth that only come through life's most difficult moments. Heath acknowledges that the music now is not just a career, but a reflection of his ongoing journey. A journey that has taught him how to be honest with himself, how to love without fear, and how to find peace in a chaotic world. While the past will always be a part of him, Heath has made peace with it. He no longer runs from his mistakes or regrets, but has learned to see them as the building blocks of who he is. And now, with a newfound sense of clarity, he looks forward to the future, not with fear, but with anticipation. He is ready for whatever comes next, knowing that he is stronger and more prepared than ever before. Keith Urban's story is not just one of personal redemption, but also a message for everyone who has faced adversity. It's about learning to face the truth of who you are, embracing your flaws, and understanding that growth often comes from the most painful places. His journey is a reminder that we are all capable of overcoming our struggles and finding peace, even when it seems impossible. As Keith's story closes, it is clear that he has truly come full circle. From the man who struggled with addiction and heartbreak to the man who now stands at peace with himself, Keith has found not just success, but meaning in his life. His music, his message, and his transformation are a beacon of hope for anyone who believes that change is out of reach. Keith's journey isn't just about fame or accomplishments. It's about learning to live authentically, to love deeply, and to grow from every experience, no matter how difficult. The story of Keith Urban is far from over. But what is clear is that he will continue to inspire, create, and live in a way that honors the lessons of his past and the promise of his future.